right. How's everybody doing today? Thumbs up. So first thing, my name is Trevor Boeing. I am now the second president of the school club Ignite for Him. Evan Cousins over here, he and I both started the club, and now Lucy is over here in the back. She's the now president of the club. So raise a hand, just really quick, if you have a dream, a nightmare, or something like that, that sticks with you like a bad pair of underwear. Yeah, okay, I sure do. I want to share my dream really quick. It's part of my testimony. So it takes place in the middle of the night. I wake up by a loud thunderclap. I look outside and there's this lightning strike out in the sky. But it's not like a normal lightning strike. This lightning strike is stationary, perfectly straight and vertical. And there's a second lightning strike about 2/3 of the way up horizontally, forming a perfect cross. Within a couple seconds later, the heavens opened up, and out of that cross came Jesus Christ on a white horse, descending down into heaven, descending on the earth. Within that time frame, I know it's a little weird, but a whole population of the earth showed up in my front yard. And Jesus started coming around to all the believers saying, "Well done, good and faithful servant, you were much loved." And then he goes around to the unbelievers and says, "Turn away from me, Satan, for I never knew you." Those words have haunted me forever. But then he came to me and he said, "Trevor," he said my name. He goes, "Trevor, well done, good and faithful servant, you are much loved." And he reached out his nail-scarred hands, and I took them, and we started ascending to heaven. But as we did this, I felt something tugging on my leg. I looked down and saw all my best friends from high school looking up at me, asking me, "Why did you not tell me?" Ironically, my dad's roommate in college had the same exact dream I did. And I know a couple of people who had dreams just like mine, different variations. And ever since that moment, as 7th grade, I've been devoting my life to sharing the gospel in school. So freshman year came along, and Evan and I both started the Ignite for Him Club, and I used that as an opportunity to spread the God's gospel in the school, in a public school, keep in mind. And so we met once a week. We talked all about God during lunch and learn and all the other times we've had after school. We had some great adventures and everything like that. But speaking of another adventure, one story I told in one of the previous meetings goes something like this. I left my paper on my table, so I'm trying to remember everything. But it goes like, there's a dad and his young son, and they're all outside, and the young son looks up at his dad and says, "Dad, how big is God?" And that's a tough question. So the dad looks up to heaven and sees an airplane crossing the sky, and he goes, "Well, how big do you think that airplane is?" And the son goes, "Well, that's really small. I really can't see it from here." So they take a trip to the airport, and then they come up to a big airliner, and he goes, "Well, how big is the airplane now?" And the son goes, "That plane is huge. I've never seen anything as big before." And his dad goes, "Son, planes are just like God in the sense that as close as you are to God, the bigger and the better you can be. The closer you are to God in your personal life, the better He'll be for you. So I ask you guys, how big is God in your life? How big is God in your personal life and in the public life as well?" Lastly, I'm on my way to Liberty University to study aviation technology, be a pilot, so you can see how the two stories kind of tie together. But I also want to ask you these two questions. As a seniors, I'm looking at the seniors down here, how many times recently have you started counting your lasts? Your last time seeing your friends, last time seeing your teachers, last time going to a pep rally, or last time going to a sports game? Just like raise a hand. I'm sure everybody's starting to think about that, right? And parents, how many times are you starting to think of the last times you might see your child over in their bedroom or something like that right before you go off or something like that? All right, next question. How many times have you thought recently, when was the last time you did something? So I quoted this earlier at a service we did earlier in my church. I go something like, when was the last time you made somebody smile? Or when was the last time you made somebody's day? When was the last time you spread God's love in school or to your child? When was the last time you spread God's love to a coworker or spread God's love to just like an arch enemy? Right? When was the last time you did these things? Last question, is to seniors and parents. When was the last time you started thinking of your firsts coming up? As seniors, we just started applying for colleges, and we started getting roommates, and all of our thousands of dollars are going down the rabbit hole for college. It's a lot of firsts last, and when was the last times you did this? Well, I got news for you. God's got it covered. God has a plan for you, a plan to prosper you, a plan not to harm you. As seniors, we're going off to college. God's got this covered for you. Just keep in mind, though, how big is God going to be in your college careers? And parents, how big is God going to be while your kids are gone? How much time will you have with your kids left? We don't know. How much time will we have left on earth? We don't know, but we do know this. God's got this covered. So I pray now that God will take your hands and go down history and make sure that God loves you, that He has a plan for you, and that from this point on, God is going to use you as part of His bigger plan. Thank you.